Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So a little report on some homework assignments. This morning, and on the car ride from yesterday evening, there was a question. The question was, Madan Gopal became called Madan Mohan. What was the reason? And so far we struck out. So one of the persons that I asked that question of was Dinabandhu. And most of you will know who is Dinabandhu. He's like Mr. Authority of Braja Katha. And his answer, I could play the little recording he made, but he doesn't know. He knows the history, and I did some further research on the history, and the history goes like this. The original deity, one of the 8 original deities that Vajranabha carved and installed in Vrindavan was Madan Gopal. There are 2 Gopals. And Gopal became one of the deities of Madhavendra and then later went to Rajasthan. Nathadwar. But so, Madan Gopal, at a certain point in time, there was a temple built for the deity, and after the temple was built for the deity, the son of the king of Puri, the king of Puri's name was King of Puri, King Prataparudra. He had a son named Purushottam. So Purushottam took the responsibility to place a deity of Radha by the side of Govindaji and a deity of Radha by the side of Madan Gopal. But in the course of travel from Puri to Vrindavan, he had a dream. And in the dream, both deities appeared and said, no, it's not, we're 2 Radhas. I am Lalita and she is Radha. Yes, I am Radha and she is Lalita. And we want to go by the side of Madan Mohan or Madan Gopal. So after that, so the deity of Madan Mohan, Radha and Lalita, the deity from that point forward had the name changed. No, that's the chronology of when it happened. But the question was not when, but why. And Dinabandhu doesn't know the answer why. He did the chronology detail that I just described, and it's for reference purposes. There's the 6 Goswamis is the title of a book written by O.B.L. Kapoor, a very respected Vaishnava in the Gaudiya line, by the Gaudiya line, wrote a biography about each of the 6 Goswamis, and that's what's described on the life of Sanatan Goswami. What I just told you about, the 2 Radhas became Radha Lalita, and then at that point in time, chronologically, that's when the name change happened. He then points out that by that time, shortly after that time, in the biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Krishnadas Kaviraj explains that he's not doing the writing, you heard this yesterday, he's not doing the writing, it's Madan Mohan. But in that one verse, he uses Madan Mohan and Madan Gopal. So, and since that time, both named, but largely, at least within ISKCON and within the temple of Madan Mohan is Madan Mohan, although the deity was originally Madan Gopal. So I struck out to find an answer. There's still a couple of inquiries that have gone out, but it's in different time zones and I didn't get a reply yet. So, but if I get a positive reply, I'll let you all know. That was one homework assignment. And then there was another homework assignment. The other homework assignment, one of the other homework assignments was, what was the plan that Bakasura had to kill Krishna? Remember that question? So research, and the only place, there's only one line in Garga Samhita that says something quite different, like 180-degree difference, that the Bakasura attacked Krishna first, because the Bhagavatam and the Nanda Vrindavan Champu and Gopal Champu all say nothing like this. So Garga Samhita says that the calf demon, Bakasura, kicked Krishna from behind. You don't kill somebody from a calf kicking Krishna from behind. Sorry, that's all it says. That doesn't answer the question, if he did or if he didn't. Now, then a little detail. There are Vaishnavas in our Gaudiya line, and there's Vaishnavas, contemporary Vaishnavas, that seriously discount Garga Samhita as an authorized Vaishnava text. Our acharyas commonly, it goes like this, our acharyas made no reference to this book. So when it appeared and who's the author and the validity and the authenticity of its contents has a big question mark over it. And besides, it doesn't say, because I have different translations of that in different, from different sources, and it doesn't say anything more than he kicked him from behind. It doesn't say that was how he planned to kill him. And then once kicked from behind, then Krishna did what it says in the Bhagavatam. It was provoked, but he was a demon, provoked or not provoked. So that was another homework assignment. And that's 2 strikes. Then, in further research from the class the other day, it was Wednesday, I think, we did part 2. There was a history of the previous life of Bakasura, and since then I did some further research from Ananda Vrindavan Champu. What's Ananda Vrindavan Champu? It's the Pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, in Braja, written by Kavi Karnapur. And Kavi Karnapur is a very much respected acharya in our line, without all the history, but he is a very respected person, and this Ananda Vrindavan Champu is unauthorized literature. So Ananda Vrindavan Champu states that in his previous life he was a mystic yogi. Doesn't say anything more than that, but it doesn't say what it says in Garga Samhita. So that's how we ended. There's Krishna finishing Bakasura and turned into he wasn't just a demon, but all these demons turned out to have like huge demon bodies. Like huge demon bodies. So now we're ready for part 3. One day, all the boys, including Krishna and Balaram, each boy taking his own group of calves, brought the calves to a reservoir of water, desiring to allow them to drink. But they're taking care of cows and calves. After the animals drank water, the boys drank water there also. Right by the reservoir, the boys saw a gigantic body. That's just the feet of the gigantic body and the long beak reflected in the water. You see the reflection in the water? That's this beak. Resembling a mountain peak, broken and struck down by a thunderbolt. They were afraid even to see such a huge living being. And look how big this Bakasura is compared to the cowherd boys and calves. Like, they're tiny and this guy's really big. His lower beak lay on the ground and his upper beak pierced the heavenly planets. Now in chapter 12, we're going to hear about Bakasura, starting tomorrow. And Bakasura, his upper jaw was in the clouds, but this is specifically saying in the heavenly planets. This guy's big. It seemed he intended to devour all the living entities on earth and in heaven. Kamsa had sent this demon to kill Krishna. So this is written in Ananda Vrindavan Champu. Kamsa sent him. That great bodied demon was named Bakasura. He had assumed the body of a baka, or duck, or crane, with a very sharp beak. And his beak was really long. He's got big green eyes. Looks kind of freaky. Baka was huge, both in body and in cruelty, with the form of a crane. To assure his dearest friends of his protection, Krishna glanced at them. This is again Ananda Vrindavan Champu, with a delicate smile that captivated their minds and satisfied their hearts. They saw the duck, but they looked at Krishna and they felt peaceful. Krishna, the undaunted one who awards fearlessness to everyone in creation, smiled at the boys and moved near the demon. And that was deliberate, because he knew what the demon was going to do. Baka immediately swallowed Krishna in his beak. They didn't swallow Krishna beyond his beak, because Krishna made it so that he could put him in his beak, but not beyond his beak. He couldn't swallow him the rest of the way. So there's Krishna in the beak of Bakasura. And here the cowherd boys look pretty big, and the houses look pretty small compared to the cowherd boys. But anyway, Jiva Goswami writes, though this was so, and though he had a very sharp beak which was very strong to do his evil work, he could just get Krishna in his mouth, but he could do nothing more than that by Krishna's arrangement. Jiva Goswami continues, this was the will of Krishna, whose name means he who is famous as the great ocean of variegated and inconceivable pastimes. A little comment about this particular painting. The copyright, it says at the very bottom, little tiny letters, is 2004. And that's a BBT painting. And the history goes like this. In the summer of 1970, a few years ago. In the summer of 1970, Prabhupada released 2 books. One was Nectar Devotion, the other was Krishna Book. And we were really surprised because there was an indication that Prabhupada very much wanted to complete Srimad Bhagavatam. And lo and behold, he paused on the Srimad Bhagavatam commentary and translation to work on these other 2 books because he wanted 2 explanations. He didn't know how long he was going to live, and he wanted that the teachings of Rupa Goswami should be understood by everybody in his following. So, Nectar Devotion, summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Prabhupada's explanation of what this summary study means, in his words, I can do what I want. Of course, with fidelity from the translator, but it wasn't per se a translation, it was a summarization. Many points were identical, just directly from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but in the summary fashion. Summary study of Nectar of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And just a little detail, in the summer of 1970, it was already a standard that morning Bhagavatam class, because he had the first canto Bhagavatam, and then the Bhagavad Gita manuscript had been published, so the Macmillan version was the condensed Bhagavad Gita. So he had classes in the evening, Bhagavad Gita, morning, evening class, every day. And then when Nectar Devotion came out, we became class number 3. And it was the plan. I mean, this is what, I don't know if all temples did it, but the temple that I was in was where the ISKCON press was based, was in Boston. It was after lunch. It's not the best time to have a class, it's after lunch, but that's the way the class was, because everyone was together for lunch. So, morning, midday, evening, every day, 3 classes every day. And we're like, let's go, spread Krishna consciousness mood. But still, 3 classes a day. 3 classes a day. And then Krishna book, was like free reading, free time reading. And we were very surprised because there was strong statements made by Prabhupada about Sahajyaism and people jumping over the first 9 cantos and going straight to the 10th canto and reading from the 10th canto and Bhagavad Saptahas for 7 days, and they just speak on Krishna in Vrindavan, and particularly they would speak about Rasa Leela, and they spoke very disparaging words. It was like we were intimidated. It was effective. And then he came out with Krishna book, which was like, what? And then the whole section about the rasa dance in Krishna book is what? Those are 2 whats? What's going on? And then he explained, same, I don't know how long I'm going to live. So he went ahead and made a summary study of 10th Canto Bhagavatam in the form of Krishna book. And just this morning, we heard a very nice excerpt from Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur's commentary on the final chapter of the 10th Canto Bhagavatam, where Arjuna is taken by Krishna. Krishna goes with Arjuna to the abode of Mahavishnu to retrieve the sons of a Brahmana from Dwarka that died shortly after their death, shortly after their birth. If you would be so kind, could you cut and paste and circulate that? It's a really nice commentary. Very nice commentary. That parallels very much what we read this morning from the first canto. chapter 15, Bhagavatam. So back to the painting. So in when Krishna book was published, the artists were still kind of new. That is to say, they weren't accomplished. In fact, 2 of the 3 artists had never had a paintbrush in their hand before they started painting for the BBT or for the ISKCON press. And so one of the artists asked Prabhupada, should we take art lessons? Prabhupada said, no. You just paint for Krishna, and Lord Brahma has constructed this body in such a way, you practice it something with devotion, you become expert. So they didn't take art lessons. Till later they took classic art lessons. But initially, no. So the artwork, I've shown some of that artwork when they you saw some of it when they transported themselves from Gokula to Vrindavan. The cards and the paintings, that's from the old Krishna book. It's really, really simple. It gives the idea, but it's not attractive. So after Krishna book came out in 1970, some time passed, and then they started getting translated into other languages, particularly European languages, French, Italian, German, Swedish, and so forth and so on. And so they, in Europe, after that translation, they decided, let's do some more artwork instead of this rudimentary artwork. And so they commissioned artists that had, more experience and more skills, and this is one of them. There's a number of them. This style is the European BBT, or International BBT. So they're separately incorporated, the one in California, and the International BBT. The purpose was to protect the intellectual property of our founder Acharya. To protect the property, the corporation was established. So it's a very nice painting. It shows the cowherd boys and Krishna dealing with Bakasura. 2004. Copyright. This is one of the original ones, the original Krishna book paintings. When Balaram and the other boys saw that Krishna had been devoured by the gigantic duck, they became almost unconscious, like senses without life. There's Balaram over on the backside looking. Oh no. Though Balaram could have killed the Asura, his response of fainting was because of intense brotherly affection, or prema, intense brotherly affection. It's a certain rasa and intense rasa in the mood of prema. He fainted. Sanatana Goswami writes, though Balaram had the power to immediately kill the evil Baka, Balaram and other boys suddenly became devoid of the powers of knowledge and action. The powers of knowledge is Jnana Shakti, and the power of action is Kriya Shakti. And for things to happen in this world, there's the reflection of Jnana Shakti, but things that happen in the spiritual realm, there's the original Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. It's by which energies or potencies by which Krishna makes things happen. So they became devoid of those two potencies because they're overpowered by intense affection in prema for Krishna. They were like senses without prana or life air. Sanatana Goswami. Back to the translation. Krishna, who was the father of Lord Brahma, but who was acting as the son of a cowherd man, became became like fire. Remember, he went up to Bakasura, smiling at the cowherd boys, went into his mouth, but he had a plan. He became like fire, burning the root of the demon's throat. And the demon Bakasura immediately disgorged him, like spit him out. But it's not over yet. He wants to go after him again. When the demon saw that Krishna, although having been swallowed, was unharmed, he immediately attacked Krishna again with a sharp beak. When Krishna, the leader of the Vaishnavas, saw that the demon Bakasura, friend of Kamsa, was endeavoring to attack him, with his arms he captured the demon by the two halves of his beak. Remember, it's a big beak and he's a little boy, but Krishna is very strong. And sure enough, Krishna squeezed the demon, who was friend of Kamsa, and the most powerful and most wicked in his grasp. This is a B.G. Sharma painting. That doesn't show how big Bakasura is, according to the Bhagavatam, but it gives an idea. Since Krishna was the goal of the devotees, Satam Gatihi, killing the demon was appropriate. The phrase, friend of Kamsa, was also suggests that by bifurcating the demon, it was as if Kamsa was also bifurcated. Jiva Goswami comments. He's drawing from the Sanskrit. Friend of Kamsa. In the presence of all the cowherd boys, Krishna very easily bifurcated him as a child splits a blade of virana grass. Simply, regular type of grass, not a strong type. Thus, by killing the demon, Krishna very much pleased the denizens of heaven. Now, usually in paintings like this, it shows the denizens in heaven. They're showering flowers, but it doesn't show that here. It just shows the cowherd boys in their own way trying to assist Krishna, carrying their cowherd sticks, ready to whack the duck demon. But Krishna finished him. At that time, the celestial denizens of the higher planetary system showered Malika Pushpa. So I was curious, what's Malika Pushpa? Sometimes there are girls' names that are Pushpa, or sometimes Malika. Prabhupada named one of his disciples Malika. So it's Malika Pushpa. Flowers grown in Nanda Kanana. What's Nanda Kanana? Who knows? Nanda Kanana. Indra's garden. Indra's garden. They showered these Malika Pushpa. So I looked it up, and it's a type of jasmine. This is what it shows on the internet. A type of jasmine. There's different types of jasmine, so it's a certain type of jasmine. Nice white and very fragrant flower. They also congratulated him by sounding celestial kettle drums and conch shells, and by offering prayers. Seeing this, the cowherd boys were struck with wonder. The flowers and the music and the sky, and what's going on? Just as the senses are pacified when consciousness and life return, so when Krishna was freed from this danger, all the boys, including Balaram, thought that their life had been restored. Whereas Krishna had no worries to begin with. They embraced Krishna in good consciousness, and then they collected their own calves and returned to Brajabhumi, where they declared the incident loudly. So now remember, this is all one day, that the Vatsasura was the same day as the Bakasura. So the boys have some nice stories to tell when they get back home. Getting back Krishna, who was like their life, the boys, like enlivened senses, embraced him, and gathering together the calves, returned to their homes. In loud voices, they proclaimed the killing of Bakasura and Bakasura. Now remember, in this same chapter 11, the residents of the cowherd community made a big shift. They traveled from one side of the river Jamuna to the other side of river Jamuna because there's too much difficulty, to harassment of demons coming in Gokul or Mahavan. So they switched, not to their ancestral home, but to somewhere in between. And that's Vrindavan. But so here they are in Vrindavan, and right away they're being greeted by these more demons. When the cowherd men and women heard about the killing of Bakasura in the forest, they were very much astonished. Upon seeing Krishna and hearing the story, they received Krishna very eagerly, thinking that Krishna and the other boys had returned from the mouth of death. This is a classic painting. This painting was done much later than the original Krishna book, but it's depicting, purposefully, it's depicting all 5 of the rasas, including neutrality. But servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal affection, all in one painting. It's very, very beautiful. And Mother Jasoda is out front, and Krishna's extending his arm, and so forth. Very, very elegant painting, and nicely done. Thus, they looked upon Krishna and the boys with silent eyes, not wanting to turn their eyes aside now that the boys were safe. Hearing this, the cowherd men, this is commentary by Sanatana Goswami, the cowherd men and women were surprised and immersed in great affection. They gazed at him with attachment, like back from death. This means that they became blissful in seeing him for a long time, because their eyes were never satisfied fully. So here's Mother Yashoda with Krishna in her arms, thinking, alas, even though I left Mahavan to escape the harassment of demons, they are still attacking my son. My son is very bold and restless. But what can I do? And where can I go? By destiny I am confused, and I cannot understand the plan of providence. So Krishna is omniscient. He knows the thoughts of his mother, her emotions, but also her specific thoughts. And so he says to her, Mother, actually all these stories about my heroic exploits are just lies. Don't worry about all these things. He wants to pacify his mother and restore her to her parental affection. That is, the sweetness is going to conceal the majesty that she's contemplating. What is all of this? So here's the Garga Samhita version. And I already did this little thing that Garga Samhita is not referred to commonly by our acharyas, but here's what is staged in Garga Samhita anyway, so I'm doing it anyways. In his previous life, Bakasura was a demon named Utkala. By the way, this reference that I'm presenting here, Shivram Maharaj has included in one of his writings. So although it's not the most authoritative text, some devotees don't like to refer to it at all, and some devotees refer to it. And Shivram Swami is very careful. So anyway, here we go. A a demon named Utkala, who was Hayagriva's son. One day, not Hayagriva, the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, but another. One day, the demon came near Jajali Muni's leaf hut at a place where the Ganges, or Ganga, meets the ocean. So that's the Bay of Bengal, right? Yes? Yes. Okay. Casting a fish hook into the water, the demon caught a fish. Although forbidden again and again, the wicked-hearted demon gave no respect to the sage's words. The sage told him to stop, but he wouldn't stop. The perfect sage Jajali cursed him, "Oh demon, you eat fish like a duck, then become a duck." Within a moment became a duck. Utkala said, "Oh sage, save me. I did not know the power of your austerities. The wise know that association with great saints like yourself is the greatest door to liberation. Saints like yourself see friends and enemies equally. They see that honor and dishonor, gold and a clod of earth, and happiness and unhappiness are all the same." Bhagavad Gita. Jajali said, in the Vaivasvata Manvantar, that the current Manu is Vaivasvata Manu, 28th Yuga cycle, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, in Bharatvarsha, in Mathura, in the circle of Vraja, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, will herd many calves in Vrindavan forest. Even by hating him, many demons such as Hiranyaksha have already attained the Supreme. You will also enter into the Supreme Lord. Now, there's reason to have discomfort besides our acharyas don't quote it. It says here, he became a duck right away. But in other scriptural references that are authoritative, it says he became a demon, friend of Kamsa, and Kamsa sent him. And then he assumed the form of a duck. He was Putana's brother. And Putana's brother wasn't a duck. Whatever he was, a demon, but not a duck. Anyway, that's what Garga Samhita says. So now, we're coming close to concluding. One of the sections in these pastimes of Krishna in Braja, when he deals with demons, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has commentary that explained how each demon represents an obstacle on the path of a sadhaka. Bakasura represents cunning duplicity, deceptive behaviors, and hypocrisy. An outward manifestation of a virtuous lifestyle, while inwardly infested with deception, falsity, and cheating activities. So that's the end. Bakasura is finished. The cowherd boys are now back in Vrindavan, and they're having their association with the residents of Vrindavan, starting with this fantastic meal. And Krishna and Balaram are by the side of Nanda. After hearing of all the events, the cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, began to contemplate. It is very astonishing that although this boy, Krishna, has many times faced many varied causes of death, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it was these causes of fear that were killed instead of him. Although the causes of death, the Daityas, were very fierce, They could not kill this boy. Rather, because they came to kill innocent boys, as soon as they approached, they themselves were killed, exactly like flies attacking a fire. Now this is one of the paintings from the old Krishna book. See, it's quite rudimentary. It's depicting the name-giving ceremony. There's Gargamuni pronouncing the names of these two boys. The words of persons in full knowledge of Brahman never become untrue. It is very wonderful that whatever Gargamuni predicted, we are now actually experiencing in all detail. So some of you may remember that there was a slide that Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur was giving the chronology of Krishna's childhood activities. Next week, Friday, is Balaram's appearance day. Is that right? No. 2 weeks from now. Yeah, 2 weeks from now. Balaram's appearance day. Yes?
August 8th.
August 8th. Okay. My brain is scrambled. Okay. I was told, so I'm going to be visiting the Chicago temple for Balaram's appearance day. It's a nice weekend. You know, festival after festival in different locations and so forth. On Sunday, they already let me know that we have been emphasizing Krishna's childhood pastimes in Vrindavan up until 5, so Bala. And the transition between 5 and 6, we're going to hear that starting tomorrow. He is just before 5 years old when he starts taking care of the cows, and that's a nice pastime. That the transition between 4 and 5 takes place during the killing of the serpent Bakasura. So Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur places this name-giving is at a time after the boys have been born. Nanda goes to Kamsa to pay his taxes. Looking around the room, see if everyone's fully attentive here. Mathura was the capital, and the arrangement was, along with the capital, there's agricultural land to supply the necessities of the urban capital. So there was a landholder who was entrusted by the king to oversee like a landlord, but it's the property of the king, and the landlord looks after the property of the king and annually pays taxes. So the king can distribute the wealth to the citizens and engage in some commerce and trade and so forth and so on. So annually, Nanda made a visit to pay his taxes. And he found out when he went to Mathura, many things they didn't know about these two boys. And so the advice was given to him, have a name-giving ceremony performed by Gargamuni. Then Gargamuni decided, I am the priest of the royal family. So if I do the name-giving ceremony in a public place, they'll put 2 and 2 together. These are royal children. So he planned, as you can see in the background from this painting, there's a cow. It was in a cowshed. It's like surreptitiously, the name-giving ceremony. What a nice place for a name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram. But he pronounced things about both Krishna and Balaram that were amazing to Nanda. But now Nanda is reflecting back what he heard. In this way, all the cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, enjoyed the topics about the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram with great transcendental pleasure, and they could not even perceive material tribulations. Isn't that nice? Srila Prabhupada writes in his BBT purport 112, here's an instruction about the results of studying and discussing the Krishna Leelas that appear in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sadhyo hridya avarujyatetra pritibhi shoshabhi takshanat. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda in Vrindavan appeared like ordinary persons of this material world, but they never felt the tribulations of this world, although they sometimes met many dangerous situations created by the demons. Their purity and innocence was being highlighted. Of course, the position of Nanda and Yashoda is not an acquired position after many, many lifetimes of something. They're eternal associates of Krishna, the eternal residents in the spiritual world. They manifest themselves along with Krishna's pastimes. Sit still, sit still, sit still. Thank you. They manifest their forms when Krishna performs his earthly pastimes, along with many other associates, but they have an innocence and purity that allows them, because they're residents of Vrindavan, not residents in Mathura and Dwarka, to not see the majesty, but simply the sweetness of the childhood pastimes that Krishna performed before he went to Mathura. In this way, Krishna and Balaram passed their childhood age in Brajabhumi by engaging in activities of childish play, such as playing hide and seek, constructing a make-believe bridge on the ocean, and jumping here and there like monkeys. And very soon, they would all be celebrating Krishna's birthday. So will we. So they have this very intimate, confidential, not easy to understand, but super attractive activity. And how do we know about all of this? This is our final slide here. This is Srila Prabhupada making great sacrifice to provide us with his commentary, which is a summary of many, many, many prior commentators, acharyas, making their comments on Srimad Bhagavatam for us. Now, it's a nice detail, but during Srila Prabhupada's lifetime, he was able to complete commentary because he did other things, teachings of Lord Chaitanya and nectar of devotion and nectar of instruction and Krishna book and so many other things. He didn't complete Srimad Bhagavatam, which was his plan. He made it through chapter 13, and then in chapter 14 is his disciples. But very nice gift, transcendentally wonderful gift. that he personally enjoyed when it's a nice little anecdote. Whatever was going on, he was so dedicated to delivering the world from nescience, and one of the primary instruments of that was the BBT publications. So it was very dear to his heart. And when a new book would come in any language, he would get the first copy. And those that were with Prabhupada when this happened, whatever was going on, the person that had the copy, they rushed into Prabhupada's room and placed it before him, and whatever he was doing, it stopped. And he just took like this, he took the book and touched the book to his forehead, and then examined meticulously the binding and the color prints and the qualification of the layout, and he knew everything about publishing because he did it from the get-go in Delhi and before coming to the West, and then again and then again and then again. He was very meticulous with his book publication because it was the or one of the main instruments for awakening the sleeping souls to their original Krishna consciousness. So same as what we're attempting to do here. These pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan are filled with spiritual potency, and whether we understand it or not, like our little children here that are a little distracted sometimes, but hearing the sound vibration and how much understanding who can say, but the sound vibration is purifying, and what a way to grow up. And not only you're sitting, but you can just sit there for the whole hour and just smile. I'm looking at you, not just at him. He's fidgeting, a little on the restless side. You're just sitting there. You have nice questions too. Means you're very attentive. You're going to bet as you continue doing this from childhood, early stages of childhood, 7, right? Today she's 7. Who knows what's going to happen? You're a very fortunate position. I know what I was doing when I was 7. It wasn't hearing Krishna book. A big gap of time before I had that opportunity. Okay. Let's see if there's some discussion. Tomorrow we're going to move on to chapter 12. Yes.
I also did some research on the Samhita, the authenticity of
authenticity.
So, a couple of references. One is Bhakti Chaitanya Swami also in his Demons in Vrindavan. He
makes reference, yeah.
And then this I haven't checked this, but I read that Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Navadvip Mahatmya references Garga Samhita 7 times. So that was, and
that's significant.
Yeah, and
Bhakti Chaitanya is a contemporary person. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a luminary.
Yes. So I haven't checked that Navadvip Mahatmya.
You haven't?
Yeah, but
I will.
Okay. So
because I have soft copies of all this stuff.
Good.
And I'll get back to you. Thank you for pursuing this.
Yes, and I also heard a class by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu where he talks about Garga Samhita and this controversy, quote unquote, around it. And he said the reason that Vaishnavacharyas haven't quoted it does not discount it necessarily. And some of the events,
it definitely discounts it.
some of the acharyas, right? I mean, Bhaktivinoda Thakur does.
Okay, but the statement that because our acharyas have not referenced it or quoted it doesn't discount it. I disagree with that statement.
So, yeah, I'm not quoting him fully.
Okay, I'm commenting on what you did say.
Okay. So what he said in that video is that there is also the aspect of kalpa bheda. That some of the events
That's different.
Yeah.
That's different. It's perfectly fine. There's different days of Brahma. No problem. No problem at all. No problem at all. That's not authenticity verification. Different days of Brahma. I'm going to write to him. Thank you for bringing his name, because, you know, I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Send him the video link, yeah.
Oh no, but yeah, I want it one-to-one. I want to hear from him directly. And he can, you know, respond or not respond or whatever he wants to do. And obviously there's differences of opinion. That's already, we've floated that one around a few times. And some persons are very adamant. And some persons are more liberal. Okay. Someone else.
Large, there's a slide of Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying that Bakasura represents duplicity,
I'll go back.
deception, duplicity. So as sadhakas, we have so many unfavorable things in our heart
Yeah.
that we don't necessarily want there. But still we're engaging in the process. Can you maybe elaborate on what he's saying here so that we can check our own, make sure we don't fall into this duplicity?
Well, I thought you were going to ask a different question. I'll answer the question I thought we were going to ask, and then I'll get to your question. My understanding of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing is, in the sadhana stage of bhakti, there are obstacles. And one can identify what those obstacles are. This, and this, and this, and this. And this is one of them, those obstacles. Specifically, Krishna performs his pastimes in Vrindavan, killing demons, in such a way that through that pastime and hearing that pastime, that obstacle is diminished. But by hearing the pastime, which is in one way of answering your question, just hearing the pastime. Now, maybe those of us sitting in this room, or everyone that has ever heard the Bakasura story, doesn't feel like my tendency for duplicity and deceptiveness and cunning, proof they went away. But it's not quite like that anyways. It's not proof went away. It's gradually awakening of Krishna consciousness diminishes coverings. It awakens and diminishes the coverings. So now your specific question is, to whatever degree any one of us has such a tendency, how to overcome such a tendency. During our Memorial Day weekend in Gitanagari, I gave a whole seminar or a whole class specifically on simplicity, which is the opposite of duplicity. And in that class, it gives examples of what sadhaka can do in addition to hearing this particular pastime. They're being able to detect such a tendency and to address it with some strength, because tendency means even if I can discern here's something I shouldn't do, I may do that something I shouldn't do because of duplicity, or conceal that thing that I'm doing surreptitiously without others knowing because of tendency. So the principle of overcoming such a tendency is bhakti, obviously, but aligning oneself. The more one can align oneself in ways that are focused upon what Krishna wants, then that tendency is diminished. Here's a supposing I'm not there yet. Supposing I'm a sadhaka, that in many ways I can do things nicely. In some other ways I privately have something that's compromised, and I don't want it to reveal it. So I keep it concealed. And I go on as if otherwise. But it's there. And as long as one allows it to be there, it doesn't diminish, it continues. There's a tendency for it to grow. So a corollary teaching that I like to encourage and apply is there are areas for each of us that give us purity and clarity and strength. So do a lot of that, whatever that is. You abundantly do that. And then this gives me strength, and over here is an area that I don't have the same strength. So borrow from strength to an area that needs strength. Become strong, not purposefully continuing with weakness or hidden, behaviors or intentions, but knowingly, so that I have the strength to deal with them, because that's what your question is. Borrow from strength in an area where there's weakness, purposefully, and then do it incrementally and sequentially, and little by little by little by little by little, overcome such a tendency, borrowing from strength, where there's strength and purity and clarity. And to add to it, carefully guard against offense, because offense just turns the apple cart upside down. Everything becomes increasingly difficult, even if you're going in a good direction. Everything becomes disturbed by offense. So carefully guard against offense. If you send me a reminder, because I forget things, I won't forget this other conversation about Garga Samhita and all, Navadvip Mahatmya and all that. We'll go there. But you send me a little reminder, and I'll send you the link for the YouTube class on simplicity. Just today I got a letter from somebody somewhere saying that class really helped them. So maybe simplicity as opposed to duplicity. This young fellow over here.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So on one of your slides you said that the Saint Jajali said to Utkala that when he became Bakasura and when he met with Krishna, he would, like it said that you will enter the body of the Supreme Lord.
Yes,
So does that mean
Sayuja.
Oh.
Sayuja. You know the meaning?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's Garga Samhita, and there's a little debate about its authenticity. But that's what it means, the Sayuja. Okay? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I had a question. Like, what did Krishna do to hear Bakasura speak? Did he extend his hands? Because Bakasura was huge. So what did he do? Did he extend his hands? Or what did he do?
He bifurcated his beak. It doesn't say, your question is, Bakasura is big and Krishna is little. So how did he handle this big guy? I mean, he's a little boy. Doesn't describe it, but the mention that he grabbed two sides means perhaps Krishna was able to expand his body in such a way that he can grab two halves of his gigantic beak. One upper part of his beak is in heaven, and the other is on the ground. That's big. So Krishna has mystic power. It doesn't say specifically, but Krishna has mystic powers, right? And one of those mystic powers is Mahima. They can become really big. So it doesn't say he made himself really big, but he was able to bifurcate the duck's beak. The duck didn't get really small, so he must have gotten really big, but it doesn't say it. You're a good listener. Okay. Yes, over here.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a follow-up question on the question on duplicity. So what I understood is that we should stick to the limbs of bhakti, or we should take strength from the limbs of bhakti that we have a liking to, and draw or borrow that purification from that and apply it in the areas where we are weak.
That's my comment. It's not. In speaking like that, it's not. I can't point to a scriptural reference where our acharyas say to do like that. It's my personal experience, and it's practical. So now your question is what?
So the borrowing part, it's not fully clear to me. If you could give like an example, like how does, let's say, purification from, let's say, deity worship, if somebody has a liking to that limb of bhakti, and they perform it sincerely, but there are other fields in which they are struggling. So how do we, take the strength from that performance of bhakti and apply it in another area?
Well, you've been around long enough to know my answer to how-to questions.
Association.
Yeah, the sadhu sangha. So if you associate with sadhus, then the sadhu, in a very kind way, will tap you on the shoulder and tell you, my dear Prabhu, you're headed for the ditch. And you won't like slap their hand because they tapped you on the shoulder. You'll say, oh, thank you very much because you saved my life because I was headed for the ditch. So, and through sadhu sangha, they can give reminders, they can set an example, they can inspire us, they give us a place where we can repose in service, and that's pleasing to Krishna, and that gives us some purity and some strength. So sadhu sangha doesn't mean just like hanging out. and serving. Sadhus, it includes hearing, chanting, and serving. And, the mission, and, and so I may be whatever I may be, imperfect and flawed, etc., but associate with persons that are less like that and more like purified, and I'll become purified by that association. One develops qualities like those with whom I associate, or one associates. So, and then you do with sadhus what sadhus do. You do bhajana kriya. And so that's how.
Thank you very much, man.
Behind you, you always have a good question too. No. Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for the series of enlightening classes. I'm just curious to know whether all these pastimes that are happening in this Vrajabhumi, do they also happen in the spiritual world? No, it's only in the earthly planets.
The childhood pastimes do not happen in the spiritual sky because there's no childhood pastimes. The explanation is, within Krishna is everything.
Yes.
And not everything is manifest, although everything is within Krishna. And when he appears in this world, then that which is not manifest in the spiritual world, like having a mother and father and having childhood pastimes, they're manifest in this realm. They're within Krishna, but they're not manifest, and here they're manifest. So there's a sweetness in these pastimes that attract the hearts and the mind, and the potency of sweetness is very special. So Krishna enjoys. I mean, that comes the topic of rasa. He enjoys. Just like he enjoyed walking up to the Baka and smiling at the cowherd boys, and then having Baka put him in his beak. And it's not like Krishna didn't know. But it's rasa. And then the cowherd boys fainted. Balaram was all powerful, didn't do anything. So it's loving exchange in a certain way that's not manifest because Krishna's form in the spiritual world is manifest as a 16-year-old or a youth, Yovana, but Bala is not there. So now you want to say something else?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. How about pastime, like dealings between Radha and Sri Krishna, like the tax collection and things like that? We hear a lot of pastimes. So would they also happen there, or I'm just curious to know?
Yes, but it's age dependent. Okay? So it's age dependent. So the younger the age, it's not manifest. But the love between Radha and Krishna and Radha's dear friends, gopis and so forth, that's in the spiritual world. But the details is age dependent.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Okay. Mataji has some questions.
Okay.
Last time in the class you said that following on this same lead that there is no childhood of Krishna in spiritual world. So how does the Vatsalya Ras, the devotees
I
that
say so. How does he do what?
the devotees who have Vasalya Ras in the spiritual world, do they exist? Like
No
how?
problem.
So if the Krishna is not there, small.
It's parental affection. Yeah, your mother. Supposing your child becomes 16, you gonna have parental affection, or it's gonna stop?
I do have.
Okay. It's not, the range is not the same,
Yeah.
but still motherly affection is there.
Thank you much.
Okay. Yeah, there are two more, then we're going to end.
Thank you so much. Excellent class and nice explanation on duplicity and how to overcome. My question was, here, like Lord Bhagavan was, he fainted and so on. I just wanted to draw some comparison with Ram Leela, where Lakshmana is always in the forefront, in the mood of protection of Lord. Whereas we see in Krishna Leela, Balram generally takes a backstage where it's Aghasura or Kaliya or in this pastime or in Kurukshetra war. Balrama was not there. And I read somewhere that it's the effect of Kali, the
What?
effect of Kali.
No. Boo.
Okay, so whoever wrote that was probably he wrote
Boo. Sorry.
So I want to understand, how we comprehend Lord Balaram's.
Okay, that's another way of asking the question. Okay. It's it's a love. In different places, there's different moods from the same person. The relationship between Balaram and Krishna is different. Like some of the examples, Krishna arranged it in some cases that Balaram wasn't present. That's going to happen next. The Aghasura, Balaram wasn't present. It was purposeful. Or the Kaliya Leela, Balaram wasn't present. Purposeful. Krishna orchestrates, and Yogamaya orchestrates Krishna's pastimes for him. So he has a role to play, and his mightiness and majesty sometimes becomes covered. Like after Aghasura is killed and Krishna manifests all the calves and cowherd boys, Balaram doesn't detect it. He is covered by Yogamaya. Now we don't have that kind of thing in Ram Leela. So there's a sweetness aspect of Krishna's pastimes that are not as prominent in Ram's pastimes. There's a different emphasis in their pastime. Virtue and nobility and proper conduct, dharma. A strong emphasis in Ramayana. So, but then when they leave Vrindavan, Krishna, Balaram's by his side. They both break off the tusks of the Kovalyapita and they wrestle with the wrestlers and they do different things. But there's still he is in the subordinate role, although he's the elder brother. That's the mood that he has towards Krishna. It plays itself out in different ways depending upon the pastime. But we're in Dwarka and he's saying no to Rukmini until Krishna does what Krishna does. Excuse me, not Rukmini. Satyabhama. No, that's Satyabhama. Subhadra. But it's a leela of loving exchange between the two of them that's orchestrated by Krishna for loving exchange of a particular variety. And the emphasis in Ram's Leela is a different emphasis. It's, the focus of the associates of the four brothers is very, very fixed. I mean, there's some flexibility, but very fixed in the positions that they have in the pantheon of the relationships. And Balaram is very flexible in that regard. You have something?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In one of the slides, after Krishna returns from the forest with his friends, he says to Mother Yashoda that the exploits were all not real, or like sorry, something like that.
It's Ananda Vrindavan Champu. It's not directly Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's Kavi Karnapur's realization and expression. So, what's your question? Why is he speaking like this? I mentioned why he's speaking like this.
To restore the parental affection.
Yeah.
My question is, to me at least, it seems this convincing process that Krishna is trying to do happens multiple times with Mother Yashoda. Is that, I'm just trying to make a comment, and a question being, why does it not happen with any of his friends?
Why does it what?
Not happen with any of his friends.
I don't understand your question. Why does what not happen?
Krishna trying to convince
The mothers of the friends?
no, his own friends.
His own friends. Well, there's a different relationship. Your mothers don't have the same relationship as friends. She's the adult. She has parental affection. There's this, and he's her little boy, and these are just friends. You can just put two and two together. The little boys are not thinking like the adults' mothers are thinking. They're just like, wow, Krishna did today, wow. What's next? What's tomorrow going to be? So they're just, their mood is playfulness. And how it happens, who knows? It's like, we're going to hear it, when they enter into the mouth of Bakasura, they refer to what Krishna did just a little while ago with Bakasura. He dealt with Bakasura, so even if it's someone that wants to kill us, it's going to be okay, because Krishna will deal with it. Let's go. So they're not questioning, what kind of, wait a minute, what kind of strength does our friend have? They don't question it. It's a relationship of friend and friend. They don't question it. And the parental affection, it has what's going on. Because their business is protecting, not playing. Different mood. So different thoughts enter. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.